Доброго дня, шановні журналісти. Дякую за зустріч, за розмову. Ну, передусім, я хочу подякувати особисто президенту Ердогану, команді президента Ердогана за нашу зустріч. Так, я можу почекати, ви можете. Так, навушники підготувати. Окей? Do you have translation? Okay? From Ukrainian. Great, I will continue. Thank you so much. Я хочу подякувати
also want to say thank you, President Erdogan and his team. Big thank you, and the Turkish people for supporting territorial integrity of Ukraine. It was confirmed during our talk with President Erdogan. He always confirms that Crimea is a Ukrainian territory. It was a very important signal for me. It's a sign of political support and all kind of support of Ukraine. We had a good conversation on the highest level. Decided to start our visit to Turkey with the capital. We demonstrated the highest level of our delegation. It's the foreign minister of Ukraine, the head of presidential office, minister of defense, the chief of staff, head of the Ukrainian security services, and the representatives of all the security and intelligence services of Ukraine. Turkey, and I want to emphasize, met Ukraine with exactly the same highest level of delegation. After we realized the level of Russian delegation here, unfortunately, they don't treat it seriously. At the minute, we don't see the decision makers among those present in the Russian delegation. Although I want to reiterate that it was Russian side proposal to meet in Turkey. Despite the lower level of the Russian delegation, obviously paying respect to the high level of the Turkish representation and President Erdogan personally, and wishing to demonstrate, or at least to try to achieve first steps of the de-escalation and to put the end of this war, or ceasefire. And I decided to send our delegation to Istanbul, but not all of them. Obviously, the head of the security services, Minister of Defense, but our delegation will be headed by our defense minister. There will be other professionals, military and intelligence officers, and Minister of Defense. Despite the fact, to be honest with you, we're not going to see his counterpart from the Russian side in Istanbul. This meeting will take a format of Turkish, Ukrainian, American and Russian presence, and Minister of Defense compiled the list of the delegation members. A Minister of Defense can speak Turkish, Ukrainian, English, and Russian. So our team will be represented in Istanbul. This is, I would say that Russia still not treating it seriously, this meeting, and they don't want to stop the war and end the war. Maybe they will demonstrate at least something during the meeting. We spoke about it with Mr. Erdogan, with President Erdogan. We will get together tomorrow with President Erdogan. We will join the European political society in Tirana. This meeting was organized well in advance. More than 40 leaders will be present there. This is our brief plans. I'm ready for your questions. Let's start with the Ukrainian TV.
Україна зацікавлена.
Ukraine is
Ми
interested.
домовились з президентом
We
Ердоганом.
agreed with President Erdogan
Наша
that
група, турецька
our
група, буде
group
присутня.
and Turkish
Ми
group will be
обов'язково
present.
зустріч
And of course, we'll organize a meeting with the American, Turkish and American group, and Ukrainian group. We definitely will organize that meeting with the Russian side. I hope this meeting will take place. It was not really a show that will get the exact time frame for this meeting and agenda also. I'm sure the format is totally understood. I'm not going to be going on about it. We're waiting for certain signals or concrete hours, what time the groups will be meeting. And our group, which are sent to Istanbul, will be in Istanbul tomorrow. So nobody won't be breaking even this tangible opportunity on behalf of Ukraine. We will be constructive. We will be present in different formats, which will be discussed. Next question, Wall Street Journal. But so far, our chief of staff and security services head and other people who came with me, they don't have anything to do there because Putin didn't come yet, or nobody knows when he won't he? And President Trump said he gave a signal that he can turn up at the meeting. It was an open signal. Apart from that, we don't have any other information. No, not to me.
From the Wall Street Journal. Mr. President, you have said earlier that the one thing you want to discuss, first of all, is a ceasefire, that there could be no substantial negotiations without a ceasefire. You mentioned the mandate of the talks tomorrow. Will you be discussing anything else? Will you be discussing anything else? Or if the Russians refuse a ceasefire, will be the
Look, the question is, it's not the first time we have negotiations in different formats. We saw Saudi Arabia, we saw some of the meetings, couple of meetings too. We saw meetings in London, in France, on different platforms, and today's Turkey. It's not an easy task to discuss the formats with the Russian Federation representatives. They do not communicate together because, there are different formats in Saudi Arabia included. And Russia suggested in mass media that Putin is ready for direct negotiations. And I truly reacted to that. He said, he put the date in, and I reacted that we will be there, and I will be there. And then later on, there was another information that, it's not really well known, it's basically rumors. I think that all the sides should be ready or should demonstrate their readiness for the negotiations. If the ceasefire is possible to achieve today on the level of a technical group without leaders, absolutely, we don't have any questions for that. We don't have to meet because we made first step. If we got a signal from the Russian Federation, which we heard with you, that an absolute ceasefire should be discussed and decided during the direct negotiation between the leaders, and I'm here ready for those direct negotiations. That's it.
Mr. President, Turkey has been reliable and sincere actor in efforts to bring peace between Russia and Ukraine. in the negotiations to be held in Istanbul fail to make progress? What will be Ukraine's next step, and how would you define a just peace for Ukraine? Thank you.
Дякую.
Thank you.
Я не хочу зараз
I don't want to
витрачати час те, що
waste time
що таке справедливе.
to discuss what is just peace for Ukraine, because some will like it, some will be annoyed by it.
Всі ми розуміємо, що
We all understand
повинен бути справедливий мир.
that there should be just peace and security in Ukraine. Security in Ukraine should correspond to the guarantees, first of all, to the UN Charter. President Erdogan is mentioning it. All our partners are mentioning it. Ukraine is confirming it. Everyone should respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of this or that country. When it comes to today's level of the Russian Federation or the decisions, we don't have to talk about the level of the delegation. If they have an opportunity to agree on something, we all talk about the result. We demonstrate with our presence and our level that we want to put an end to war quickly. And all of us, we all have a mandate institutionally from the Ukrainian people or from our lawmakers. We have a mandate to agree certain steps which will lead to the end of the war. On the other hand, we see the representatives of the Russian Federation, and we understand what level it is. And it means, no, we fight with you, we don't respect you. Everyone sees that. Everyone sees that. America, Turkey sees that Russia should demonstrate at least something, at least the level of their delegation, or the level of their leaders, or some decisions, something. If we don't see this demonstration, it means they're not ready to talk about putting an end to the war and make decisions. It means they lack political will. It means Russia does not feel that they have to put an end to this war. It means they lack political, economical, and other pressure, types of pressure on Russian Federation. So that's why we ask, if there's no ceasefire, if there's no serious decisions, if there are no bilateral meetings, we ask for certain sanctions, which will help to put an end to this war quicker, at least to make it quicker, at least our conversations make quicker about the end of the war. And obviously, not to mention the sanctions, which the United States were mentioning the increment of sanctions. The European countries were talking about this, and also countries of the global south, which you know that they don't support sanctions. There are some countries because of certain economic relations with Russia. But now Russia demonstrates that Russia does not want to end this war. I'm sure there should be some pressure applied from the global south as well. Ukrainian TV, next question. Mr. President, could you tell us, after your words in the airport and your words, "I'm here," which became a meme and was spread out everywhere. And it was basically a sentence to the president of Putin and the lack of his desire to communicate. Did we notice certain pressure applied to Russia? Are our partners ready to apply those sanctions, or they will say again, "Oh no, there will be less latest warning," and obviously weaponry from the US. President Trump promised this. Thank you for your question. The main task now for Ukraine, I think, to be constructive. And now, despite the levels of the delegation, we still send our delegation on the level of the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, in order that nobody would say that something there was depending on the Ukraine when these or that negotiations were basically broken down. And it's very important to me. That's why I'm sending the signal straight from the start. Yeah, I don't want Russian Federation saying, oh, we don't know, we don't feel that something is not working there, etc. You understand? This is firstly. Secondly, we expect sanction steps if Russia will not be moving towards putting an end to the war. Now, nobody is saying to the end of the war. Everyone is talking about ceasefire because everyone understands that it's a very difficult road with these people. And I think that the Kremlin leader should show his leadership. If he's ready for negotiations, let's meet. Without any preconditions, whatever he wanted. Let's meet. Well, it can't be happening. We are in Ankara, in Turkey. We arrived here. Then we're sending our group to Istanbul. He is not here. He is not in Istanbul. We can't really run after him around the world looking for him. I think that world should help us, that both sides sit at the negotiating table and put the end to this war. With this or that steps. I think that the US at the minute and Turkey feel this lack of respect of Russia, according, well, at least in my view. When it comes to agenda of this meeting, the high level of delegation, the time of this meeting, it's a lack of respect. I'm not talking that they lack respect to us, it's obvious. But here, Russians, they show their lack of respect to Erdogan, to lack of respect to Trump. Trump is sending a big group of people with Secretary of State Rubio. And who are the side of this war? Russia and Ukraine. Secretary of State Rubio present. A Turkish foreign minister there. Ukrainian foreign minister there. Where is their colleague from Russia? It's a lack of respect. It's definitely disrespect to everyone. Next question. La Repubblica.
Hello, Mr. President. Two very quick questions. First one, before you coming here, Mr. Lavrov, I've just called your attempt to your request for Mr. Putin to be here, pathetic. Mr. Lavrov said, because he says that he never meant to be here, Putin. Second question, if you've been coordinating your moves here with Mr. Trump. Thank you.
Our teams in total contact. We didn't coordinate with President Trump personally, but everyone understands that there's a meeting in Turkey and we sent the high-level delegation there. You know, there's a Middle East tour conducted by President Trump. We understand that every day he's got meetings lined up with different leaders and discussing projects, documents. But he said he is ready to join the meeting. He gave us a signal if there'll be a president of Ukraine, a president of Russia. In this case, president of United States will join them. He's showing his political will. He's showing that he's ready. He wants to help. That's how I take it. As to Foreign Minister of Russia Lavrov's words, who, look, I never put forward any proposals personally to Putin. We all took it at, he suggested direct negotiations because he didn't want a ceasefire. He doesn't have to meet. He just should say, okay, we'll have ceasefire. We didn't meet each other. We never negotiated it. He just said that. We want to demonstrate that we also will take steps. They said that they're not going to be attacking Ukraine, although half of it is lie. But they did it slightly less. We never met him. He said that. And we decided, okay, let's do it in a mirror-like way. And all the partners said, why not? We demonstrated that. We've shown this. And also, he can demonstrate, well, he can say to mass media that we are ready for a ceasefire for 30 days. We don't have to meet. But he, in order to like slightly delay a strong American sanctions, wants to show that he's constructive and he's ready to conduct negotiations. But he's saying that the ceasefire, we've got a lot of different issues, and we're ready to discuss those issues. Everyone took it like that. And I said, yeah, I'm ready. President Trump said, yes, I'm ready. And he said that if those two leaders will be present, I will be present. It's normal. It's a positive for the whole world. Whatever, how would we treat each other or think of each other, but it's hope for the whole world that the big war will end. Next question, Crimean News.
Kırım Haber Ajansı Mustafa Koçyiğit. Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, Kırım Haber Ajansı Mustafa Koçyiğit. Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, ajansımız işgal altındaki Kırım'da hala takip ediliyor. Bununla birlikte Yarımada'daki Ukrayna vatandaşları hala bizim içeriklerimizi takip ediyorlar. Onlarla iletişimimiz ve diyalogumuz devam ediyor. Tabii bu noktada özellikle son süreçte bazı uluslararası yayın organlarında Ukrayna'nın barışa ulaşabilmesi için topraklarından taviz vermesi gerektiği yönünde yorumlar yapılıyor. Tabii buradaki atıf açıkça Kırım. Kırım kastediliyor burada. Ve Yarımada'daki yaşayan Ukrayna vatandaşları da bizlere gönderdikleri mesajlarda, yorumlarda oldukça endişeli olduklarını söylüyorlar. Buna mukabil Kırım Tatarlarının resmi organı Kırım Tatar Milli Meclisi de Ukrayna'da
Question in Turkish.
toprak bütünlüğü noktasında her zaman Kırım'ın Ukrayna toprak bütünlüğü içerisinde yer aldığı, Kırım'a dair bir karar verilecekse şayet bu Ukrayna devleti ve Kırım'ın yerli halk olan Kırım Tatarlarından başka herhangi bir kişinin buna karar verme yetkisi olmadığını söylüyorlar. Bununla birlikte şahsen siz de biliyoruz ki Kırım dahil Ukrayna'nın toprak bütünlüğüne sarsılmaz bir desteğiniz söz konusu. Ancak başta söylediğim gibi işgal altındaki yaşayan Ukrayna bölgelerinde yaşayan Ukrayna vatandaşları için bunların endişelerine dair ne söylemek istersiniz? Yine devamla görüşmelerde şayet Ukrayna'nın Kırım dahil toprak bütünlüğüne dair bir talep gelirse Ukrayna bu noktada hangi tavrı gösterecek? Pozisyonu ne olacak? Teşekkür ediyorum.
Our position, which can represent today as a guarantor of the constitution of Ukraine. Crimea is a part of our state, and Turkey, thank God, supports this position, understands that, totally supports the UN Charter, understands that Crimea is Ukraine, Crimea is a Ukrainian peninsula. President Erdogan himself always starts conversation with me when we talk about Ukraine, territorial integrity. He always says, I can confirm, I totally confirm Ukrainian territorial integrity. We do not recognize the occupied by Russians territory of Ukraine, and we realize that, and we treat Crimea as a part of Ukraine. I've got this position, he's got this position, most of the world supports this position. We cannot discuss the territorial issues. It means to basically the question of territories, what's happening to those occupied territories, which way we will be basically getting our territorial integrity together. We are ready. We want to. We need this. We need to discuss those moments. But with all these discussions are always emphasized, and this is my unwavering position. De jure, we will not recognize all the occupied by Russia territories of Ukraine as Russian territory. This is Ukrainian territory.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Could you give us much more details? AFP, Agence France Presse.
Agence France Presse question.
Thank you so much. Could you give us a bit more details about your discussions with President Erdogan, and what did you suggested for our for finding a solution to this blocked situation?
When people do not want to get the result, when people do not want to talk, when people resolve their issues or questions with weapons, this is war. And when we don't see the end of this war, yeah, people come to diplomacy in order to avoid what you just said, a dead end, right? So you have to make steps which will bring peace closer. That's all you can do to create and to increase the tension and pressure on the invader. And you have to pressurize the side which does not want to end the war. And the position of Turkey and the United States, you saw that there was President Trump thought that it will help if we pressurize both sides. And I think that they were pressurizing us more than they pressurized Russia. This is my position. But Ukraine, step by step, was demonstrating that, believe us, it's not the matter. It's not the question of Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting for itself. We are not ready to lose our lives and our land. It doesn't mean that we are aggressors. And step by step, we were confirming it on different diplomatic platforms, agreeing on many compromises, because everyone is talking about full ceasefire as an important step. For Ukraine, it was a compromise. We have a lot of preconditions for the aggressors. And if America made those steps, we went on with it. We went along with those steps, and not only those steps Ukraine made. There were a lot of diplomatic steps. We were meeting any format, just a tiny bit. Just a tiny format that could bring the peace closer. But it can't be unilateral. It cannot go from only one side. And pressure should not be applied only to on one side. And we want to see this pressure on Russia, on Putin, sanctions from Europe, from the US, from other countries, as a minimum requirement.
First of all, we are good friends and partners. And I don't want to go further to details about our conversation, because we had big agenda of our also bilateral relations between our countries, and different directions of industries, and which are very important for us, and how to strengthen us. And we spoke also about the coalition of willingness, about the security on the sea, about grain corridor. We had big bilateral agenda. We spoke some hours about a lot of things. But of course, the priority is peace. The priority is ceasefire. The priority is to be here today. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm underlining it again and again, the high level of representatives of our group. We have what to do at home. You know, that's it. But we spoke about a lot of things, and mostly all the things about the level of Russian group and their willingness to finish the war and about ceasefire. Everybody support, by the way, 30 days it's nothing, but everybody supported like, you know, the first step. And even, you see, and even Global South, which been balancing all these years of this war between us and Russia, and they've been not on our side, but you see even Global South, you see their messages, China and other Latin America and other countries who are very supportive. The first step, unconditional ceasefire, 30 days, everybody support this idea. Please.
24 канал попереду.
Panel 24. Ukrainian team. Could you tell us as to the time frame of the negotiations in Istanbul? Can you give us a time frame? That's why I was telling you. How do I say? Have a lack of respect, disrespect to all sides of these negotiations, because we don't have time frame for the meeting. There was a proposal of direct negotiations today in Turkey. You remember it. After that, there were only changes to the agenda. Of course, our team will be in Istanbul, and I think some of them is already there. And they'll be there today, and just in case, they'll be there tomorrow, in order to, you know, after the Russians will leave somewhere or go back home, someone will appear there. So we don't want any surprises. We want to be there today and tomorrow. Can you tell us if there'll be a third part to the as a mediator? The US should be mediator, and the Turkish side too. Next question, please. Anadolu Agency. Question in Turkish.
Bazı eleştiriler vardı, bunu sormak istiyorum. Liderlerin genelde müzakerelerin sonunda son görüşmeyi yapmasıyla alakalı. Müzakere seviyesini neden üst seviyeye çıkarmak istediğiniz ve bunun işin doğasına uygun olup olmadığıyla alakalı. Bunlar hakkında ne söylemek istersiniz?
The occupation of 20% of our territory. Do you think it's diplomacy? Mass graves. Do you think, what is it? It's definitely not diplomacy, that's for sure. In the modern world, 20,000 of Ukrainian children being deported to Russia. Does it look like diplomacy? A lot of things like that. I don't want to say that. I will start Ukrainian narratives. I just don't want to call them narratives. I just want to say that we're, for a long time, not being in the usual diplomacy, because we deal with people who came undiplomatically to ruin us, our history, our identity, our families. We got what we've got. And I don't want to conduct a historical dialogue. Why did it start? Because I'm going to have my own opinion, and someone else will have their own opinion. And just because of this, because we'll have a lot of questions like that. Just have a look at Russian signals. First, we need to understand the roots of this war. Why doing this? In order not to stop this war, not to end this war, because you respect your language, your flag, your people, your history, and we do, and the Russians do, but they want to push their history on us and to destroy something that is dear to us. That's why in all wars, there's a first step, as President Trump says. Let's stop the killings. Yeah, okay, we support this. Let's stop the killings. This is a full unconditional ceasefire. And we don't need leaders for that. We need a political will of the leader. And it could be done. And it's not war that happened 100 years ago. There's media, there's internet. And we don't have to meet. We don't have to complicate things and processes. But just agree upon the ceasefire. And after that, we'll talk about monitoring in order not to go into details of the whole construction, of the whole way, which will lead to the end of the war. Because if now we will discuss and kind of quarrel about details, the years of war might happen. Let's have ceasefire for 30 days now. And when one side, and it's one side only, the whole world, nothing else, everyone supports that step because everyone understands it will stop the killings. There will be violations, but there won't be a mass scale of this. There will be some odd shots, but artillery will be silent in mass. We can lie about, obviously, some machine guns, but ballistic missiles won't be flying because everything will be monitored because of technologies. And another couple of questions. AP and then Sky. Associated Press. If the delegations will manage to meet, it will be first contact in 3 years. For many people, it will be it will become some sort of a progress. What do you think? Will it be a real progress? We're ready for this. Delegation will be sent. It has been sent to Istanbul. Delegation is ready for that. Turkey is sending its delegation ready. They send it. American delegation, partly in Istanbul, partly on its way. The meeting could happen tonight, maybe will happen tomorrow. We did everything in our power. Everyone is waiting from the other side, from the Russian side. Can't say. It's very important to bear in mind the essence of this meeting, the agenda of this meeting. Although Russians, when they heard that we'll be in Istanbul, they could say, "Oh, you know, we got other things to, to take care of." It could happen. We don't know.
President Zelenskyy, Sky News. Had Vladimir Putin come today and sat round a table with you, what would you have said to him? And the fact that he hasn't come, what does it mean for this stage of the peace process? Can you even call it a peace process now?
We start for the peace process to start. Clearly, all these meetings on the level of national security advisors will be happening, and everyone was making different plans about the peace agreement and the end of the war. We cannot, we don't have to support this roadmap. We can argue about things, but when the groups are working, it's moving in the right direction. It's a road of diplomacy. That's why I have to say the meetings are taking place, and it gives us hope that Europeans got united, which wasn't here before. And I think that Europe, America, and us, we're all together in this diplomacy. With many other things, with other tracks, we cannot be agreeing on everything. But when the Russians are saying, "Oh yeah, let's go to the direct negotiation," I think, yes, this is right thing to do. That's why the direction has been chosen correctly. What will happen to this direction? I don't know. If I would be meeting on the level of the leaders, and I'm sure there's no any arguments that in order not to agree on things on for certain period of time, at least when it comes to ceasefire. And I think that we would come up with this result or with some other results. I can't tell. And the last question. Новини live.
Дякую за цю можливість. Галина Остаповець, новини Лайв. Ви говорили про те, що тут присутні силовики, силовий блок. Ми не побачили Богданова, чому його тут немає, зокрема. І незважаючи на те, що ми тут говоримо про
major government representatives are here, but Mr. Budanov is not here. But what details we got as to the Russian plans for this summer? We have representatives of all the intelligence services, internal intelligence service, security services. The main question is security. That's why this bloc is being headed by one person. And this is the head of Ukrainian security services. Very much like we got chief of staff, and we don't have the commander-in-chief, because everyone has his or her basically duties. We could have brought everyone here, but I think we got enough people in the group. What do you mean? I was answering this question, and to be honest with you, we started offensive operation in all the directions, and the main direction were Sumy direction, northeast. 67,000 of our troops were concentrated there, and we were making efforts in order to break the Russian army groups in the area. And obviously, they'll be doing some adjustment to that. They want to, the Russians want to start an offensive. And our military are formulating this as the Russians are constantly attacking. And it happens for about a couple of months. Thank you. That's the end of the press conference.